Welcome to In the Zone. I'm your host, Zach Humphreys, and we start out with our Super Sports segment with some breaking news regarding the death of former hockey player Adam Johnson. Johnson was killed October 28th during a game between two British teams, the Nottingham Panthers and the Sheffield Steelers, when his neck was slashed by a skate. In a new development in the case, a man was arrested on Tuesday for manslaughter, which Detective Chief Superintendent Bex Horsful said, quote, "We request that the members of the public refrain from comment and speculation. Our thoughts will remain with all affected by this devastating incident," end quote. In this wake of the freak accident, the debate on whether ice hockey players should wear protective neck guard have been reopened. In the Zone will continue to follow this case to see if new NHL regulations will be imposed on protective gear for the players. The past weekend marked the first conclusion of the first games of women's college basketball. There were a couple of unexpected upsets within the rankings, with the top two teams in the preseason rankings, LSU and UConn, both being defeated. South Carolina jumped up to the #1 spot for the first time in the regular season poll this week, with Iowa coming in with the #2 spot. As for the original 1 and 2 rankings, LSU is at #5 and UConn slips to #8 after losing to North Carolina State. Although these polls were just regarding the first opening games for these teams, In the Zone will continue to follow collegiate women's basketball as the season progresses. We turn our attention to the first for a popular streaming service in the world of sports. For the first time ever, Netflix put a live sporting event on its platform in its first ever Netflix Cup, a golf tournament starring 4 F1 drivers where each of the drivers will be matched up with a PGA Tour golfer in a friendly one-day golf tournament. This event takes place this week before the first ever Formula One Heineken Silver Las Vegas Grand Prix. The athletes competing in this Netflix event representing F1 is Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz, Alec Albon, and Pierre Gasly, and the golfers are Ricky Fowler, Justin Thomas, Max Homa, and Colin Morikawa. This event was streamed on Tuesday, November 14th, with Carlos Sainz winning the tournament. Naomi Osaka, the popular Japanese tennis player, revealed that she will return to the professional tennis world in 2024. Nearly 4 months after giving birth to her first child, she announced she will make her return competing in the Brisbane International beginning December 31st and wrapping up on January 7th. Naomi Osaka was a former #1 and 4-time Grand Slam winner with a total of 21 appearances in the tournament, said, quote, "I am really excited about getting back out on the court and competing," end quote. Now let's jump into some conversation with college basketball heating up, the NBA season settling in, and lots of football questions. We've got a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. In the Zone starts now. I'm now joined by Owen, Russell, and Lucas Miller to first dive into some college basketball. On Monday night, Penn took on Villanova and completely exceeded expectations as the Quakers defeated the Wildcats 76-72. This is the first time that Penn has beaten Nova since 2018, and after a strong effort on both sides of the ball, they certainly earned this win. As for Villanova, this loss was nothing short of a surprise and completely kicked them out of the rankings. Is it too early to hit the panic button for Villanova, Owen?
I would say so. I think that Villanova is a very talented team. Their players didn't play bad against Penn. They didn't play well enough to win, but they certainly didn't stink the bed up, you know what I'm saying? I think Penn's a good team overall, but no, Villanova hasn't started 3-0 in a season for the past 5 years, I don't think. And they have been absolutely fine going forward, and I think that they have a solid culture in Villanova, in Radnor. It's a very good team. They have that recent championship success. I think they're fine. Let them play some conference games first, and we'll go from there.
Lucas?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Owen. I think it's way too early to hit the panic button for Villanova. We haven't even gotten into anywhere close to Big East play yet, so let them settle in and let them get a couple games under their belt.
Did you see any flaws while you were watching the game, or was it kind of just Penn played?
I think it was more that from what I saw, I didn't watch the game. I saw some recaps of it after. I think Penn played overall a well game. I mean, I I don't think Villanova is starting as strong this year as, some would expect them to, but I think that as the season progresses, as we get into December and early January, things will pretty much even out for Nova.
We have to look into the Penn a little bit more here. Quakers are doing something big here. Maybe the Ivy League's going to make a run in the tournament in March.
Princeton did it last year, so you never know.
Cinderella story of the year.
Last year they were the 15th seed, didn't they? And they knocked
beat
out
Arizona, I'm pretty sure, in the first round.
Yeah, going on a bit of a run there.
Oh, let's see. It's going to be exciting.
We're going to stick with the college basketball here with what was less of an upsetting loss for a highly regarded team was Kentucky losing to Kansas 89-84. While a loss is a loss, no matter what the score was, there may be some encouragement that comes as a result of this game. Given just how strong Kansas is this year, and every year for that matter, as competitive as they were, Lucas, should Kentucky feel good despite a loss, or do you just take it as a loss and, you have to find the flaws in it?
I think there was a lot for Kentucky to be positive about coming out of this game. They have some newcomers on that roster that, they shined a lot in that game. I mean, it was right down to the wire. It came down to, couple possessions that really decided it in the last couple minutes of that game. Kansas went on a pretty big run out of the second half, and Hunter Dickinson did what Hunter Dickinson does. I mean, there was really no stopping him late in that game. But I think Kentucky, there's a lot positive riding on this season for them. I think they could definitely be one of the front runners in the SEC. And I think there's a lot that they, can ride on after this loss to Kansas.
It's Kansas. I mean, a loss to Kansas, a loss is a loss. You don't want to take a loss in any scenario, but it's Kansas. They're the number one team in the country. They're a national champion at least 2 years ago. At least 2 years ago. But I would not hold this against Kentucky at all when it comes down to it. It's still a good team. Let them, like I said with Villanova, let them play a SEC team first before we start judging. College basketball, it's going to be fun this year. It really is.
So when it comes down to it, when you guys were kind of, getting your recap of this college basketball weekend, Lucas, do you feel like Kansas is representing the one well, or do you think that there's some other teams that could kind of compete with them at that number one spot?
I'd say they're number one now. I mean, we're way too early into the season to, strip them from that one spot. There's a lot of teams right now that look really good. There's a lot of teams that haven't played anyone yet. So, there were a couple big games this week. I know Marquette beat Illinois last night. Marquette looks really good. There's a couple other teams like Creighton, a few Big East teams that really haven't had some big competition yet. So, as we get into our Thanksgiving week games, that's when we'll really tell, who should be where so far as we're early in the season.
Those games are going to be exciting because, Duke just beat Michigan State,
right.
And now is when, I feel like the rankings are going to really shake up by the time we get back.
James Madison University, just got to say it right now. They beat Michigan State.
Played fantastic.
Oh, my God. They looked really good. Just a little thing before we go on. And the Atlantic 10, St. Louis, they look really good, 3-0 so far. Other than that, Creighton, I would say, is really good. The Blue Jays, I would say they're up there with Kansas.
Never forget them when it comes to March.
No, not at all.
There was one other upset last night where our producer might have been asleep. USC lost to, I think it was UC Irvine. So that was a top 20 upset.
Wow.
Incredible. Okay. Well, I can't wait to continue to hear about it. And actually, we're going to transition over to the NBA where the Rookie of the Year race is actually much closer than we expected. Victor Wembanyama, who many people thought was going to be the next coming of LeBron James, is not having the best start as he has actually started off surprisingly slow. That is not to say that his stats aren't amazing or that he doesn't look like a generational talent that he is, but rather that his strong performances have started off slower than people expected. Is there a reason to be concerned, Owen, or will he eventually run away with this award?
I don't think there's really any reason to be concerned. The rookies always sort of struggle. They have to adjust to the game. The NBA is a different animal completely from any international basketball or college basketball. I think that Victor is a very talented player. He's a unicorn in every sense of the word. I mean, an alien even. He'll be fine. He's on the Spurs who don't really have that solid of a rotation, I would say. I mean, they have pieces. Devin Vassell, I would say, is one of the best young players that we don't talk about. But in terms of the Rookie of the Year, I think he's got some competition already. Chet Holmgren, I wouldn't say he's technically a rookie. Technically he is, but
Yeah, he definitely is. I mean, Ben Simmons found a way to
well,
win, so.
Ben Simmons, I was just going to say his name up in there in the conversation. No, I think as a Hornets fan, I got to say Brandon Miller.
Okay.
He's looked pretty decent to start the season off. Other than that, Osar Thompson, one of the Thompson twins, he has started off really hot, impressively hot. I thought Amen was the better one out of them, but they've looked all good so far. But yeah, Victor, he'll be fine.
Lucas?
Yeah, I mean, you just talked about some of the rookies that are looking really good. One that's not off to a hot start is Scoot Henderson, but that's a different story. But I think Wembanyama will be fine. I mean, he's unlike really any other talent we've seen. I mean, that's what a lot of people like to say. So I think let him get a couple months into the league and see what he's really made of. I mean, we're only about a month in, a couple weeks in, so let him really get a feel for what it's like playing with the guys that he's with right now, and we'll really see what he's made of then.
I mean, he's so far, even though he may not be putting up the big numbers, he's a walking box office, if anything.
Oh my God.
Well, speaking of the electric players, we are going to start to get in this conversation with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, who have led the 76ers to the best record in the NBA and have possibly cemented themselves as the best team in the league. With the duo leading the way, it doesn't look like much, but that will slow them down. So, Lucas, who could beat the 76ers, or are they just that standout team so far?
Well, they look really good so far early, and as a Sixers fan, I'm pretty happy that Maxey's really shining right now. I think getting rid of Harden, some people might not have wanted that to happen. Some people have been waiting so long for that to happen. But I think with him gone, Maxey can really step into the spotlight and really just show what he has been made of. And he's, while he's been really good his first couple years in the NBA, he's kind of just been, taking the back seat to everybody else. But I think, adding some depth from that trade really would allow Maxey to, go out and be the star on this team. And I think the big thing for Philadelphia, while they have the best record in the NBA early, it's going to come down to what they do in March and April. It's really going to be whether or not they can get over the hump of, exiting the playoffs really early. And that's going to be a lot on Joel Embiid, again, like it has been. But I think with the help of Maxey right now, that, it might lift the Sixers to the next level that they've been looking for.
If you had told me 2 weeks ago that Tyrese Maxey at any point in the season would drop 50 points on anybody, I would have laughed at you. I think it proves that James Harden was the problem at the end of the day. Great player, cancer to any locker room that he steps in. Tyrese Maxey, he's everything that Sixers fans wanted him to be. He's everything that Kentucky fans knew he was going to be. He's just such a talented individual. I mean, I haven't seen many point guards like him, honestly. Most improved player, maybe? I don't know about that, but... I
don't know. There's a lot of people throwing out this MVP word. What do you think about that?
That might be a little bit of a stretch right now. Right now, that is. Embiid, I don't think is going to repeat as it, though. I'll say that. The Sixers look pretty good this year. I think they're going to eventually take the East. The Celtics you should be concerned about them. The Bucks, I don't know about them yet. Damian Lillard hasn't looked as strong as he could be, but we'll see. It's going to be a long season.
Yeah, I mean, it's still kind of early. What do you think about the Celtics potentially being there, and then also the Bucks kind of not living up to their expectations?
I would say Celtics for now would be, the other contender besides Philadelphia. And the only reason for that is that they've strung along this lineup that they have for quite a number of years now. And, they added some pieces this offseason. They have Porzingis there. He looks to be doing pretty good. And Tatum and Brown still together. And the thing with Milwaukee is we don't really know what to expect from them yet with Damian Lillard. We don't know how Damian and Giannis mesh yet, but once we figure that out, the tables might turn and it might be Milwaukee over Boston.
Yeah, I mean, I was just about to bring that up. Damian Lillard hasn't exactly figured it out, but we just got to give him time.
Yeah.
But now's the time when we're actually going to send it over to Christa Ricks for the latest in Marauder Athletics. Christa?
Thanks, Zach. This past weekend was the start of Millersville's men's and women's basketball season. The men's team hosted their first home game here at Pasilla Gymnasium. The men's team won both games, leaving them 2-0 against Livingstone University and Virginia Union University. This past weekend, the women's team was on the road, finishing 1-1, losing to Virginia Union University and securing the win over Shaw University in overtime, leaving the final score to 74-68. The soccer team is your new PSAC champions. The Marauders secured the title Sunday, a win over their PSAC rivals, Westchester University. The final score was 1-0. Men's soccer will host the NCAA tournament here at Pasillo Field. The Marauders wrestling team went 1-3 on the road this weekend, gaining a win over Williams College and losing to 3 Division I programs. In the final match of the season, the women's volleyball team loses to Bloomsburg University in the 3-2 sets. The football season comes to an end with the Marauders falling short, losing 30-10 to Seton Hill. Best of luck to the men's soccer team in the tournament, and good luck to the men's and women's basketball team on a successful season. Now we send it back to the desk for some college football conversation. Zach?
Thanks, Christa. And new college football playoff rankings are out, and while nothing is too shocking in this week's ranking, there are some debatable moves or lack thereof. Georgia is back in the #1 spot, while Washington remains at 5. After this week of football, Owen, what changes do you feel need to be made in the rankings?
Honestly, I don't really think there's much that needs to be changed. I would switch Michigan and Ohio State, personally. I think Michigan is a better team than Ohio State. Even without Jim Harbaugh, they're just overall the more talented squad. I think Washington being under Florida State is the right move. I've been pretty high on Florida State this entire time. So overall it looks good. The one thing I would change is I would put Penn State at #1 personally, but other than that, it looks like good. Oregon State, the Beavers, I love them. They look really good this season.
Okay.
They have surprised me. Ole Miss disappointed me. And I'm used to that from the Rebels, but college football. That's what it is.
I mean, I think Georgia was #1 anyway, so they didn't disappoint me at
No,
all.
not
What
at
do you
all.
think?
I like that Georgia is back up to 1 now. I think we talked about this long ago in like September on the show that we were waiting for Georgia to make that jump. And I think they finally did. They cemented the fact that they're at 1 right now with that big win over Ole Miss. The rankings 1 through 6 right now, I don't really have any issues with much. I mean, bias, I will put Washington over Florida State, but the thing is that we gotta wait a couple weeks. We gotta see what Washington's gonna do in their next game against Oregon State first before they can make that jump. One thing I would like to highlight in the top 10 is Missouri at 9. I like that move. They're looking really good right now.
Mizzou.
Yeah, Mizzou. Their losses are to, I know one's to Georgia. I don't really recall what the other one is, but they had a really big win over Tennessee this weekend. Blew them
Impressive.
out. Very impressive. And 9 is a really good spot for them.
I agree.
Well, actually, speaking of a team that's in the rankings, is Penn State. It feels like Groundhog Day as Penn State continues to disappoint its fan base by losing to Ohio State and Michigan year after year after year. While they were technically still in the game for most of it, there was no point in the most recent Michigan and Penn State matchup where the Nittany Lions looked like the better team, even with Michigan attempting 0 passes in the second half. Penn State just could not get anything going. Lucas, I know you got a lot to say. Take it away, brother.
Oh, well, that game against Michigan, I was at the game and I could see it from pretty much every angle. The offense just looked awful. I mean, the defense played probably their best game of the season. Probably the best game I've seen that defense play in quite a number of years. And they stopped one of the best offenses in the country time and time again. And, you might think, well, they put up 24 points, whatever they put up. It's still really good against Michigan. Michigan's been great this year. The offense did nothing to help them. Nothing. I mean, you have a young quarterback like Drew Lar. I get it. He's very inexperienced so far. But your receivers can't get open. There's no run lanes for these running backs. And even when there are, they don't hit them. So I don't really know what the issue is with that offense whatsoever. I know that they fired their offensive coordinator. I don't even know if that's really going to make a change. I mean, they just look like a team that doesn't really know what they're doing, and they don't look like they're going in any direction. It doesn't look like anything's going up, and it doesn't look like they're moving back. It's like they're just stationary in the same cycle over and over again. And, a lot of people, including myself at times, will say that they need to get rid of James Franklin. I don't really know that that's the best move yet. I'm not trying to defend him at all, but if you're going to put James Franklin in another position that's not head coach, that's a very good move. He has brought in just recruit after recruit after recruit. They're a 4-star and 5-star, and they've developed these freak athletes on this team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. That does not happen at Penn State without Franklin there. It doesn't, because he's done that for years now. And if you're going to pay him as much money as they're going to pay him, he needs to just be in a strictly recruiting role. I don't know who calls the plays, if it's him or if it's the offensive coordinator, who it is. Either way, I just don't think he needs to be anywhere besides bringing the kids in, because it's not going anywhere. It's not going up at all. And I will make one point. If they're going to get rid of James Franklin, it's not going to be because he can't beat Ohio State and Michigan. There's got to be another reason, because they are going solidly 9-3 or 10-2 almost every year with a New Year's Six bowl appearance. They won the Rose Bowl last year. They've won big bowl games. And to everyone who's not a Penn State fan, that means a lot. The only people that care that they're losing to Michigan and Ohio State are people like us. The people that are giving Penn State donations, the people that are working, upper hand people at Penn State, like the AD, other big name people that we will never be in the same room with, do not care that they lose to Penn State, that they lose to Michigan and Ohio State. All they care about is the 10-win season, bowl appearances, Rose Bowl wins. So as long as that's happening, Franklin is not going to be going anywhere besides the sideline every Saturday. And that's what I have to say about that.
Owen, I know you feel a certain way.
James Franklin is the biggest disgrace to Penn State football I think I have seen in a long time. This game on Saturday was the biggest disgrace to Pennsylvania State University football I have seen in almost 15 years as a Penn State University fan. This offense is stagnant. It was awful. It was garbage. Drew Allard looked like a 1-star quarterback. I was told he was a 5-star quarterback. Are you kidding me? What was that? Nick Singleton didn't do anything. Nobody did anything. The defense, God bless their souls, they did everything they could, but there was just nothing there. Nothing was getting done. It was not the football that they play in Center County, Pennsylvania. No, it's not. State College needs an offensive coordinator that cares about winning and cares about getting Drew Allard his flowers. Get him his awards. Get him what he deserves. And I'm glad that they fired their offensive coordinator. And the next step is James Franklin, because James Franklin has, for the past 5 years, I'd say, he has just not gotten them over the hurdle, gotten them over that hill. They need to get over that hill. This is a team with a winning culture going back before Joe Paterno was even there. This is a team that has passionate fans that on the level of Alabama, on the level of Georgia, these people deserve a national championship. They deserve a team that's going to go to the playoffs and compete consistently. And it just has not happened under Franklin. And I'm sorry. The guy's nice, I bet, but it's just not working anymore.
I mean,
Get somebody.
I was at that game Saturday. Every time they came out with Allard in the shotgun and 5 receivers out there, boos. People were booing. Because it was bad. It was bad.
They should have put in Bo Prabula after a bit, but who knows? I'll take the New Year's Six Bowl again this year, I guess. But if we don't get
we'll get a nice bowl
if we don't get to the playoffs with 12 teams next year, come on, what are we doing? What are we doing, Penn State?
Well, switching it over to a game that had a good bit of offense last week, we had a lot of conversation surrounding the best team in the AFC, where the Ravens were believed to be heavy contenders for first place. After Week 10, that might not be the case, while the Ravens blowing another 2-possession lead, this one 31-17. The Cleveland Browns deserve a ton of credit for making an incredible comeback. While they aren't the most flashy team in the NFL, they certainly have shown a lot of dominance on both sides of the ball. Lucas, can we make a legitimate case for the Cleveland Browns?
No. I'm sorry, Owen. No, I just don't see it. I mean, especially after you lose Deshaun Watson for the season. And I feel bad. I really do, because I don't really have any bias towards either of these teams. And I know you guys love both of them. Well, not both of them, but, you each have your respective sides. But they had a lot of positive going for them right now, Cleveland did. And Deshaun Watson looked good. He has looked good. He looked like potentially what he looked like at Houston. And I was very excited about that because I liked him as a quarterback in college. He looked like he has been making a lot of progress. And now you lose him, and I think everything just turns right back to nothing. It sucks because they are not a team that has had a lot of success, and when you get a little bit of that success, it feels really good for a franchise like that. And I feel like everything was just kind of stripped away from them this morning with that news with Deshaun Watson. So I want to hear how you feel about this, Owen.
Well, anytime that we beat the Ravens is a good time. Anytime that we beat the Steelers and the Bengals is also good. But there's just something about beating Baltimore, what was formerly the Cleveland Browns, if you know anything about the history of the Ravens. It's always nice to get a win over them. But I think losing Deshaun Watson is devastating. It really is. I read a report this morning that, he got told that if he got hit in his shoulder one more time like he did, it would just fall apart, and don't even risk that. I wouldn't even risk that. But as for the Browns, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he's our guy now.
Is it Walker?
I'm pretty sure it's DTR.
Okay.
They said he was starting against the Steelers, so it should be interesting. I think it really depends on how he plays overall, if the offensive line can protect him, if he can get the ball off to the receivers he has, because he has decent receivers. It's not like he doesn't have the weapons to succeed. The defense is going to be really what defines the season for Cleveland.
All right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
I had a question for you.
Go ahead.
So as a diehard Browns fan like you are, I assume, are you fully bought into DTR, or do you think that they would need to go out and get a quarterback off of waivers or just somewhere?
I
later this
personally
season?
think he's too young to really do anything, but my Browns fan in me is telling me that he is going to become the Rookie of the Year now. He is going to have a great... Oh my God, it's this guy. Nah, it's going to be okay. We're going to be fine. I feel like the meme of the dog sitting in the burning house, sipping the coffee, and it's like, it's fine. Everything's fine.
So, I mean, with that, real quick before we get over to the NFC, this AFC North division is looking really good. So it's close. It's all
tough.
within
It's
within
tough.
one game, and now we have two divisional matchups. Do you feel like this is when? Do you feel like the Browns' defense can hopefully carry that offense, or do you think now is when they kind of fall towards the bottom of those standings?
I think that the defense overall can carry them to the end of the season. I don't know if it means playoffs this year. I think it means maybe 9 or 10 wins.
Okay.
But in a conference as tough as the AFC North, I mean, I'm not confident. I think the Ravens, unfortunately, might make it before them, and it hurts me to say that to you because I know how much you hate the Ravens. But better luck next year. That's the motto of every Cleveland Browns fan.
Well, over in the NFC, another sleeper team in the league has shown some upsides that could benefit them in the future. That team is none other than the Washington Commanders. While sleeping on this team is absolutely justified from here on out, what they have done given the cards they've been dealt, this is pretty impressive. The main thing that comes to mind is the emergence of Sam Howell, the 5th-round pick that has lit up the league, unexpectedly leading the league in passing yards, completions, and touchdown passes, while their record stands at a shocking 4-6. The Commanders' offense, led by Sam Howell, has actually been a lot better than many expected. Owen, you are not one of the many that expected Washington to struggle because you have big hopes of Sam Howell. What's your reaction to how they've been playing?
I've been very happy with how Sam Howell's been playing. He's looked every bit of a first-round quarterback. It looks to me like Washington really, really got a steal, an absolute steal, a Tom Brady level steal maybe, if they can get an offensive line around him. And that's why I say Sam Howell has impressed me, because the rest of the Washington Commanders, oh boy. Let's talk about the offensive line first. They are not good. It's rotten Swiss cheese. It's Sam Cosmi, I think his name is, not a quality tackle at all. We can go to the wide receivers. Jahan Dotson having 0 catches, putting up a big egg against the Seahawks. It's the defense. Oh my goodness, Emmanuel Forbes, I believe it was, got ejected, which is a completely ridiculous call. But the Commanders, they have the ability, I feel. They have the most important thing that you want in a team now, which is a franchise quarterback. I think they're going to keep Sam Howell for as long as they can possibly do it. But they need to form a team around it. I think firing Ron Rivera might be the answer to this. I think that he's a great person, led the Panthers to the Super Bowl, but I just think that it's not working. They need to promote Eric Bieniemy to head coach, give him the control over Sam Howell's career and the trajectory. Get Jahan Dotson more involved. Get Brian Robinson more involved. These guys are quality. Like, this is a team that can compete in the NFC East, but is just being horribly coached. Horrible timeout management, horrible clock management. It's just leaving points on the board, and it sucks. I want to see them do well. I do. I think they will.
And what's your impressions with the Commanders? I mean, they are in a pretty tough division. At least two of the teams are pretty tough. So what do you think?
I'm not really a big, hating Washington kind of guy, even though I'm an Eagles fan. I could really care less. As a matter of fact, I like seeing them succeed at times because, they don't have that, firepower all the time every year. So when they have a spark right now with Sam Howell, it's cool to see because I watched him quite a bit at North Carolina. I like what he's doing right now. And like you said, Owen, I think they have a lot of young stars on that offense. That Brian Robinson, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel's still there, correct?
He is, yeah.
Yeah, so he's been in the league quite a while. He's a good, little gadget guy. I mean,
You've
you've got
Diami Brown, like those guys.
yeah,
are on that team too.
Diami Brown. He's good too. I mean, I think I totally agree with what you were saying about Eric Bieniemy. I honestly didn't really even think of that, but that could be something that really takes them to the next level that they need to get to. 4-6 is pretty good for that team. You lose Chase Young. I think they had a couple guys dinged up on defense. I mean, that's good. I think going into the season, expectations on Washington, they've exceeded them by now. I think going forward, if they can get Howell to stick around and get some of those offensive weapons to stick around, they could definitely compete in their division in the next couple of years.
Oh, hopefully they can, because no one wants to see the Eagles do anything in that. Let's be honest here. We're all sick and tired of that. How about the Giants, though? I noticed that diss that you had, that subtle diss.
Well, when you have an offense like that in New York, and I'm talking about both.
They let
NFC and
Dak
AFC New
Prescott
York
look
teams.
like the next coming of God out there.
My
and
God.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Giants I feel bad for Saquon. Like, he's stuck
Really?
there at this point, yeah. I mean, but no. And Daniel Jones, too. Like, it just sucks. It just really does. Pray for the Giants, because I think they're going to need it. Just pray for all of New York City, because all they have is the Knicks, and God,
And
That's not
that's
much.
Not,
That's
that's
not
even much.
impressive.
No, you have to depend on Julius Randle, and that's.
Yeah, he's struggling this year.
Yeah.
But that'll actually do it for this fun episode of In the Zone. From Owen Russell, Lucas Miller, Christa Ricks, and the entire In the Zone crew, I'm Zach Humphreys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week right here on In the Zone.